celebrating 20 years of possibility. Pilot Flying J and Halloran Hilton Hill present Anything is Possible.
Welcome to Anything is Possible. I'm Halloran Hilton Hill. Great stories about great people whose lives prove that anything is possible. And with me today is my dear friend, Wes Stowers. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Alan. Pleasure to be here.
I want to start with a story. I tell this story all the time. You might be sick of hearing it by now, but Wes and I became friends a long time ago. And my father was getting on in his years, and I knew he was nearing the finish line. And we had talked about, where he was on his journey. And you stopped me and you said, look, if you need to get to your dad, and you will find out that Wes is a pilot, if you need to get to your dad, you call me and we're gonna make sure you're okay. And I don't know what the interval of time was between you saying that and me needing that, but I remember I was at what was then Books A Million bookstore, and I was walking out of the bookstore. I had to step out of a meeting because my phone was ringing. It was my sister's phone number. I answer the phone and all I hear is crying. And I said, I'm on my way. My next call was to you. And I said, hey, and before I could finish telling you, you said, I'm on my way. Now, the neat thing about this story is you're a pilot, you have planes. What's odd to me was you were on a commercial flight somewhere. I think you were in Wisconsin, I don't know. And you said, I'm on my way. It'll take me a minute to get there, but meet me at the airport and I'll take you to your dad, which you did. You flew me to Indiana. That gesture or that act of compassion, you've never said anything to me about how much that cost. I was recently looking into private jets. My understanding is a 9-passenger private jet, 6 hours of operation is roughly about $25,000. That's at least the most current thing that I saw. You never said anything to me about money. All you said was, we got to get you there. And you offered to come back. And I said, no, we'll figure that out. For the life of me, I've been trying to figure out where that ethos, that level of service, that level of going the extra mile, where did that come from?
Well, first of all, I knew how close you were to your father, and I just recently lost my own, and I know what that feels like, and I wanted to be there for you. Second, I think God puts things in front of you, the opportunities to help that just, come out of, it's a situation that arises, and if you're able to step in, I think that's something that you're obligated to do, and it's something. It's not a hard thing to do. It's the right thing to do, and I think so often people miss opportunities to help others when that opportunity arises. It's just a point in time where you can help make a difference for somebody.
What did losing your father do to you? How close were you? What was that? We
were very close, and it was sudden. He died of a stroke in his sleep. He was very healthy, active, and he was only 77. But it further cemented I needed to carry on what I think he would have wanted me to do. I always wanted to live up to my father's expectations. He set a great example. Was always very supportive, and let me, grow up in my own. He kept me from making some bad life decisions probably early on, but was helped really point out a pathway to adulthood that I could never repay him for. And as an adult getting to work with my father, those 19 years were very special.
Let's go back to the beginning. There were three brothers that started Stowers Machinery. Your dad was the baby. What's significant prior to us starting this, you mentioned all of them were in their 30s. Tell me about this band of men.
Well, they were my two uncles, my father, were all from West Virginia. The two older brothers were in the car business, and Dad, when he got back from his service in Korea, went to work for Caterpillar as an engineer, and got his older brothers interested in the potential of possibly getting into the Caterpillar equipment business. So the oldest brother, my Uncle Bud, was at that time 37, put his name in the hat, and a dealership became available in East Tennessee. And so in 1960, Bud was 38, Dick was 36, and Dad was 30. They sold their car business, borrowed as much as they could, and then Caterpillar helped us with the rest, and they took over a struggling dealership here in East Tennessee. And Bud and Dick ran the Knoxville operation, Dad ran the Chattanooga operation, and that was 60, been a long time since then, 64 years. And they pulled the company out of the bad place it was in a couple of years, and we have thrived and grown, and we've had some wonderful people in the company along the way. That's been our key to success. We built a great team, and we've had a great team for many years.
Possibility powered by Pilot Flying J, Covenant Health, Home Federal, and the Knoxville News Sentinel.
Now, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Chattanooga.
You grew up in
I was in first grade when we moved around when Dad was with Caterpillar, but I was 6 when we, about halfway through first grade when we moved to Chattanooga. And I was there through high school, graduated from high school, and went on to the Air Force Academy from there.
So why did you choose the Air Force Academy, and did you think that you would end up in the family business?
Growing up, I always thought I would be in the family business at some point. Dad never gave us an allowance, but back then they didn't have child labor laws, and I worked in the warehouse and in the shop, and once I got to be 16, drove a truck and pulled wrenches, and absolutely loved it. I love equipment, I love mechanical things, and met some great folks. But also, from the time I was a little kid, wanted to be a pilot, and from as long as I can remember. And when I got in high school, I just set my sights on trying to get in the Air Force Academy, and I wanted to be a fighter pilot, and that worked out real well.
I like the way you said that. That worked out real well. So you go to the Air Force, and you become a fighter pilot. Yeah, you got a little Tom Cruise going on over there, I think, a little bit. What was that journey like? And what did it take to become a fighter pilot? What did you fly?
Well, I flew primarily the F-4 Phantom, several different models of it, and I had one assignment as an instructor in the T-38, which is a fighter type trainer. But it's like anything else. Thousands of people have done it. It's not something that I think anybody that wants to, that is physically capable can do it. It's not anything. We are part of a team that made up a whole lot of people. We were just one part of that team, and that was something that was a humbling experience, I guess, once you got on active duty, looking at all the folks that worked around the clock to make sure your plane was ready when you climbed in and turned it on and went and did your job.
How long did it take to learn to fly a fighter plane?
The Air Force, in most of the military flying, it's a pyramid, I guess. You start out, anybody can learn to fly. It's not hard to fly, but flying fighters or any military aircraft, you have to have a pretty good learning curve. They can't take 10 years to train you. So pilot training lasts a year, and in my day, they washed out about a third. And today I think they have better methods and they screen better than they used to. Once you get your wings, then you go into your fighter training, which is it takes about a year and a half. And then you're just basically qualified and you show up at an operational unit, and really for the next year you learn and get qualified in new missions and roles, weapon systems and whatnot. And you start off as a wingman and you move to a 2-ship lead and then a 4-ship lead and then an instructor and evaluator. And it's like anything else, you gotta earn your way up.
Did you love it?
I loved it, every day of it.
Really?
Yeah.
You love to fly.
I love to fly, but it was more than the flying, it was the mission, what you were there to do. And everybody there was really dedicated to defense of our country and projecting power to keep a bad thing from happening. It was during the Cold War. Vietnam had just ended, and went through the real hollow years in the 70s, and then the Reagan buildup, and got to, I think, see our country at its best from the military point of view. And we were well led, we had great leaders, and it was very fulfilling. But the flying was great, I can't lie. It was, every day was a.
You remember when you took me up in your plane? I'll never forget that. By the way, I always give people this note: no Taco Bell before going up in one of his planes.
Well, that was a pretty extreme. It was an aerobatic biplane, and that thing would. You had an e-ticket ride.
It was great. And I use this when I do speaking engagements, because when we got in, you're describing part of the instrument cluster, and you showed me the attitude indicator, which shows the relative position of the wings to the horizon. And you said, just keep your eye on the attitude. And I remember you said, we're going to do a roll, and you said, push it all the way to your leg, which we did. And we're doing like this, and I'm having a moment, and you very calmly, like you are today, said, check your attitude, right? And I've told that to a lot of people. Sometimes when the world is doing this, you got to check your attitude. Let me ask you about humility and possibility, because that's one of the most striking things about you is you're humble. I'm not sure you have to be, but you certainly want to be. Why is that so important to you? I ask you about what it took to become a fighter pilot. You lead a really wonderful company, and immediately, I probably got 3 seconds of, here's what I did, and for every 3 seconds of that, probably a minute of, I'm just part of a team. I'm one person. It's all of us. I had to learn. Where'd you get that from, Wes?
I don't know. Teamwork it's about we, it's not about me. I mean, I just have seen too many times when somebody becomes more important than the job at hand or the mission at hand. And people want to be part of a winning team, and everybody has to play their role. I mean, we're here in the UT locker room. You can have Peyton Manning would not have been the success here if he didn't have a great line and some great receivers and a great defense. Everybody had a role to play. At the academy, the whole purpose of that place was you show up with a whole bunch of other, in those days it was all male, but a bunch of guys that, they'd all played sports and had good grades, and man, they shaved all your hair off, put you in fatigues. We all looked the same. None of us could do anything right our first during basic, and you find out you're part of something bigger than yourself. And you succeeded by working together. And on active duty, that's all it was teamwork. And people would have good days and bad days. There was always somebody that was better at what they were doing. It's not like Top Gun where one guy's the best. No, you had some great pilots, but different people had different strengths, and you worked together, and it wasn't something where you were trying to gain at somebody else's expense. Coming back into business, my gosh, we've got such a fine team of people that are committed to their jobs. And as a leader, your job is to support them, give them what they need to succeed, make sure the mission's clearly defined, that you can tell what success and failure means, and do it the right way. And I don't know, that to me, that's a long-term strategy, not a short-term one, but it works.
You know, just in this conversation today, just the way you're approaching the telling of your story, and by the way, in the next episode, we get to meet your daughter. I'm excited about people meeting her. But I don't think, Wes, I thought about humility as a force multiplier for possibility. So that if you have one possibility, but if you could be humble and combine that with teamwork, what's possible goes from 1x to 10x. And have you seen that in your business as you've combined humility and teamwork, you were able to either solve big problems well or grow the business?
You know, humility is something, I mean, if people that have a big blind spot, I mean, in the fighter world, you were getting humiliated all the time. You didn't always win in a training engagement. You had plenty of chances to get humbled, especially going up the ladder. But in business, it's not a one and done. It's every day, and you are trying to add value in your products and services. And if you take good care of your people, give them, you got to be sincere about it. Loyalty is a two-way street, but if you don't give it, you're not going to receive it.
So we've talked about humility and teamwork. Let's talk a little bit about your business. Kind of give me the scale and scope of Stowers Machinery.
Well, as a cat dealer, we cover the eastern third of Tennessee. We have 428 people in 6 locations, 2 here in Knoxville, Chattanooga, Kingsport, Crossville, and Sevierville. And essentially we we sell, we rent, and we provide parts and service support for everything Caterpillar makes, as well as a pretty broad range of what we call allied products that Cat doesn't make, crushers, screens, forestry equipment, whatnot. But Caterpillar itself, they're the world's leading manufacturer of heavy equipment, over 350 different models of current machines and several thousand what we call legacy machines built. We can take care of anything that Cat's ever built from the 60s on. And we have large machines, medium machines, small machines. We have a rental division. We have an electric power division. Most of the generators in this area for hospitals and airport and UT, many of them are ones that we've sold and support. So we're in a service business. Our biggest strength is our ability to take care of product, both parts and service. You do that better than your competitors, then you'll sell and rent your equipment. And but if you can't support the product, that's our biggest differentiators, how well we can support a product, which is a function of your technicians and your parts people and all your support personnel.
What I know about your business is that things don't break down or need repair on a 9-to-5 Monday through Friday schedule, right? So you have to have service available 24/7, 365.
For emergency service, we have people on call, especially in the generator world. If a hospital loses its power, you want to have a technician there on site to make sure that generator doesn't have a hiccup. But we have a lot of capabilities today that are relatively new. We can monitor several thousand pieces of equipment remotely. We get fault codes. A lot of times we'll know there's something going on before the operator does. And we can schedule service and try to take some of the surprises out of breakdowns. Now they do break down, and we got to be able to jump and get the machine running again. But I think, and it's exciting when you look at what technology can do. It's going to, I think, revolutionize how we deliver service support.
I think one of the things that I've always really loved about you is that it's a family business. from your dad and your uncles. They, you joined the business. How old were you when you joined the business?
I was 34.
So you were in that same sweet spot coming out of the Air Force. You join around 34 and take the company to their next dimension or their next level. And now your daughter is entering the fray.
It's something that I heard from a fellow cat dealer out in California, a multi-generational company. You're the steward of what your, in my case, uncles and father built. I didn't start it, but it doesn't run itself. You have to continue putting gas in the tank and plowing it back and taking care of your team and growing your team. And we've been very fortunate in the last 30 plus years. CAT has grown their product offerings, and we have grown our business significantly. Our rental business, for example, we weren't even in that 25 years ago, and today it's a totally integral part of our day-to-day operation. It's challenging, it's demanding. If it was easy, everybody would do it. But as an owner, you're really the steward of an asset that you're trying to keep that business going, and it feeds a lot of families, and we take care of a lot of fine customers around this part of the country. And you're a cog in the wheel, so to speak, of something much bigger than yourself.
Next episode, we get to meet your daughter. Wes Stowers, thank you for being with us.
Thank you, Howard.